Memorial Healthcare is proud and excited to open their new $40 million plus neurology, orthopedic, and community wellness center, now called the Now Building. The 15,000 square foot facility features the highest quality, most sensitive 3T MRI available on today's market. The 3-story building provides area residents a medically based wellness center featuring nutritional, counseling, and group fitness classes, among other offerings. Memorial Healthcare's new wellness center includes locker rooms, private showers, steam rooms, a sauna, a lap pool, and more, including a raised track for walking and running with views of the entire Memorial campus and surrounding area. Memorial Healthcare strives to bring healthcare and wellness together, servicing patients' needs from diagnosis to treatment to rehab and beyond. For more details, go online at memorialhealthcare.org or call 989-720-CARE. That's 989-720-2273.
Well, hello, everybody. It's time for episode 225. Can you believe it, boys? 225 of these things we put together. It just has flown by, hasn't it?
It's flown by.
That 225 was always the number. That was my max bench. All I could ever get. I was at 225 bench with just 2 plates for, I think, like 2 years.
So you didn't make any progress.
No, I don't know what it was, man. It's some mental block in my brain. Could not get past 225.
Hopefully
have
it's
that
not the
spot.
same for this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, this is the 225th episode of 3 Point Podcast. We're presented to you by Memorial Healthcare, home of the state-of-the-art Now Community Wellness Center with pool, workout, equipment, track, a whole lot more, and now the home of the Big Salad Cafe. Also, our other partners include AZEE Printing Solutions, Pro Real Estate and Auction, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, the Wash of Owosso, and the ALS Association of Michigan. But boys, we're very excited for this special 225th edition of 3 Point Podcast because we're excited to announce the addition of another corporate sponsor. I know, Jared, you're so excited that you said if I was able to sign them up, you could give me a kiss. I'm going to pass on that, but keep that enthusiasm.
I love it, man. Wow. You said it best. I mean, we love all of our sponsors, but especially when there's a new one, and especially when it's something that's near and dear to, I mean, I'll just say it, my heart. Ted, yours as well. Matt, It's not quite legal where you're at, so you still like it, but maybe don't dabble quite as much. But Ted, I mean, you are like the walking billboard for this thing. I mean, you basically always told me, man, that it really lights a concert on fire when you maybe make a quick pit stop in the parking lot before walking in.
Well, yeah,
well, I know you're kind of burying the lead. So
right.
Ted,
well, we got to welcome Skymint Brands. Skymint, man, we're happy as heck to have them aboard, man. They fit our whole our focus. They have locations for cannabis and products cannabis related throughout the state of Michigan. And really, when you look at our podcast, that's where we shine. I mean, Michigan is really our sweet spot. And it was really exciting to make the connections with the Skymint people. It started with just a simple email. And it's always exciting when you're a sales guy, when you get a phone call back completely out of the blue. I think it was a couple weeks later. And as I mentioned, Skymint Brands, Michigan's leader in cannabis industry. I mean, it's just going to be so exciting to be teamed up with them.
It's so crazy to see how that whole field, I guess, has changed over the last 5 years, even, 10, 15 years, because as you remember, Ted, obviously you've seen it all. So you grew up back in the day when everyone was passing them around at concerts or whatever else. And then like when I was going through elementary school, it was the DARE program. It was the DARE program was just getting smashed into our heads that it was the whole commercial. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions, with the frying egg and marijuana is a gateway drug and, all this stuff. So me growing up, it was like, I'm not being judgmental. It was, if you smoked, you were like a stoner. You were kind of a loser. That was just the narrative that was pounded into our heads growing up. And it's cool to see that has started to change, or it definitely has changed, because it was always kind of strange to me that this, drug that comes from the earth and, is, much more natural than beer or liquor or stuff like that. And, you have a much different reaction, everyone's different or whatever, but it was always kind of funny to me that you can walk into a store and buy a case of beer and get blackout drunk, and that's legal, but other stuff wasn't. So it's crazy. It's crazy to see how it's changed. Like you mentioned, Jared, there's still a lot of states like mine down here in North Carolina where it is not legal. Southern states, I'll be surprised to see, or I'll be curious to see how long it takes for it to become legal. But just mentioning Skymint, when I was back in Corona this, a couple weeks ago, driving to my mother-in-law's house, I was like, I didn't know that they had that facility there in Corona. And so I'm driving by, we always drive through and check out like, oh, look at this. There's Culver's. Oh, there's the new Starbucks, or,
Yep.
there's Rivals. And all of a sudden there was this brand new, like super awesome building in
Right.
front of Meijer. And I was like, what the hell is that? That is like a super cool building, Skymint. And it took me a second to be like, wait, I've seen this before. What is it? And then, it clicked. And I was like, wow, Corona has changed their tune on the whole cannabis industry.
It's awesome, man. What a great product that really just, I mean, whether you do it to help with pain, like I know Ted is a big proponent of that, whether you do it to just have
Absolutely.
a good time, more to come on that later when we get into our catch-up segment, whether you do it just to unwind at the end of the day, whatever it is you use it for, man, it's a great product. And, I had never tried it before until it became legalized back in 2020. And I'm thankful it did, man. It's an incredible product. And Skymint, and like you said, these dispensaries, they are state of the art.
They are.
They're like an Apple store. I was lucky enough to go check out Skymint basically right when it opened. And man, dude, you walk in there, it's freaking incredible.
Beautiful.
They know their shit. And that's the thing, man. You go in there and I think a lot of people have this stigma around weed when they think about it. Like back from Ted's day, you didn't know what you were smoking back then, man. Somebody hands you a joint in a concert, could be Lay's, could be this, could be that. You go into these places and you tell them exactly what you want, exactly what you're looking for, what you want it to do to you, and they have all the answers. And that's what I was most impressed with, man. It's whatever you're looking for, they have it.
Absolutely. We're happy to have them on board as a corporate sponsor, but also we aren't forgetting about all our listeners, because soon we are going to be passing on to you a coupon code where you can get a good discount at Skymint. And as soon as we get that ready, we're going to pass it on. Our next pod, we'll tell you about it. And if we get it before then, we'll pass it on our social media at 3 Point Pod. And all the more reason to make Skymint your cannabis store for sure. And there's a lot of them out there, man. I was going up last night to I-75. I bet I saw 5 straight billboards, including one for Skymint, but 5 straight billboards advertising cannabis.
Skymint is I don't know.
It's the king.
It's the one that to be honest, it's the only one I knew the name and the branding and everything before it came to Corona. That's one that I actually knew. I knew of it in Lansing. I knew of it in all these different places, man. It's one of those that it's just a person's favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of weed, man, moving on to our catch-up portion here. Thanks again. Awesome just to have them on. So, I had recently a 5-year reunion. This past Saturday, I had it at Fortitude. Great spot there in Owosso, right on Bennington, right off of Bennington. And, it's 5-year reunion. Let me just it's a little bit weird that we had it. Basically, the story goes is we had a great class president. I'll give him a shout out. He did a great job organizing this event, Josh Richardson. We had a great class president back in school. We raised all this dough, man, that we had nothing to spend it on in high school. We had like $5,000 left over. And basically once, 5 years is up, basically all that money just, not like it's a bad thing, but it goes back to the school. So selfishly, we're thinking to ourselves like, man, dude, we got this $5,000 just sitting in the bank. Like, let's go have a freaking party of our lives for our 5-year reunion. So that's what we did. So we threw a 5-year reunion. I think we had about 35 people show up, which is not a ton of people, but that's kind of what you expect. I think 5 years out of high school, people still are like, oh, I don't want to see those losers. I'm too cool for that, this, that, which maybe you don't deal with so much at like a 20-year reunion where everybody's just so happy to see these people they haven't seen in forever. So we go to this 5-year reunion, we're out just kind of chilling out on the back patio, and, everyone's having a good time. I got there late, like 3 hours late. I got there at 8, I get there, everybody's, having a good time, but people are sort of segmented off, right, into the different tables. There's this table over there, people, there's this table over there, people, there's this table over here, people. Somewhere along the night, after I'd maybe been there for 30 minutes, all of a sudden, I don't know where it came from. A J kind of finds itself for people who are maybe, Ted's age that are a little bit, buttoned up. That is basically a cigarette that's filled with weed.
I think people my age do realize what a J is.
I don't know. You never know. I don't know what our audience is sometimes, but so
it always comes back to Ted.
For Ted's area of the audience, that's what that is. So that comes around. Next thing you know, man, it's getting passed around, and next thing you know, all these different tables, it all became one big group. And that was the start. That was when the party really kicked it off. And that's what weed can do for a crew. I mean, people make fun of it, say this or that. Obviously anything, if you do it too much, can become a bad thing, just like alcohol or this or that. But I tell you what, for that night, it really brought together the crew. And after a couple more hours at Fortitude Open Bar, man, I don't know how much I drank there. A good amount. Definitely drank more than my $23 worth. After that, we go. So we all have a whole the whole crew, all 35 people, go down the road to Corner Pub and finish off the night. And it was just a blast, man. It's funny it's seeing these people after 5 years. You don't realize. I remember thinking in high school when everybody would tell me, "Oh, enjoy it while you're there, man. You're not going to see these people every day." And I remember thinking, "Oh, that's not going to be me." We'll still stay in touch. This class is special, and I do still think we're a very close knit group. But regardless, life just gets in the way. You move all across the state. I mean, I'm in Detroit. I'm hardly ever back in Corona.
That's what happens.
But it's funny seeing everybody, man. You got people who have handlebar mustaches now. They didn't have a shred of facial hair back then. You have, a couple classmates that have kids now. You have, all these other people doing all these cool stuff, graduating college, going on cross-country trips, Colorado, bringing their girlfriends that they met in college. It was just really quite an experience, and it was just an awesome time. I mean, we had sponsors sponsoring it. Corona Hill sponsored it. Fortitude put on a great event, knocked a couple bucks off the open bar tab. Alec Faber, shout out to him. And it just was a great time. And I'm just wondering what type of experiences you guys have had at your reunions.
I don't know. Do you want to start this off, Ted? Because I've got a long one to add to it.
Yeah, I'll keep mine short. I think the best reunion that my class put together, I think it was 10, it might have been 15. It was actually at a campground between Langsburg and Perry, and it was outdoors, and it was a pig
Sleepy
roast.
Hollow?
No, I can't remember the name of the place, but it was awesome, and it was the same feel that you had, Jared. Everybody's outside having a good time, and then once the doobies came out, everybody really enjoyed the evening. So that was my favorite one. Now I'm old enough to where they kind of pile them in together, and they call them alumni reunions, and they have three or four classes highlighted, and then it's invited to all CHS graduates. So I've evolved to that point now, unfortunately. I mean, it's cool to see people.
No, it sucks. It sucks.
Well, you know how it is.
Definitely changes it.
Yeah, but the nice thing about that is, though, also, I didn't just hang with people in my class. I knew the people in the classes ahead of me and after me. So, and then from all these years in this area, I know tons of people. So it's kind of cool. I know everybody Corona related, it seems like.
Right. Yeah, reunions. I've always been one that I've loved it. Whenever I'm back in town, I want to see as many people as possible. It does seem like there's a lot of people, like you said, Jared, that are like, I don't ever want to see these clowns again. I want to move away and never connect with high school.
If you were, if you were bullied or something like that, I totally get it, right? But there are people that, that were my friends, or that were, that like popular girls in school that have that sort of mindset. And it's like, what the hell, man?
They think they're like too cool for school type of thing. Too cool. We moved away from Corona. We don't want to go back. It's, something like that. But
it's beneath them.
No, it's funny that, you bring it up. 5-year reunion. Because, right, you think like, especially nowadays, I've talked to some people about this, how reunions have changed because of social media and texting and cell phones and stuff. Like back in the day, I mean, Ted, you can speak to this. I bet reunions were legitimately the first time you'd seen some of these people, even their faces, in 5, 10, whatever the timeline is. Nowadays with Facebook and texting and everything else, a 5-year reunion, sometimes it's like, I know what everyone's up to because I see them on Facebook all the time, or I see them on Instagram all the time. So it's not but like, back in the day, you would show up to a 10, 15-year reunion, and it probably would be sometimes like, I haven't seen this person in 10 years. They've put on weight, or, maybe they've lost weight, or they look way better than they did in high school or stuff like that. So reunions have definitely changed, I think, in that sense. Not necessarily in a bad way, just, different.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, and I was going to ask you this, Jared. Did you take your girlfriend?
Yeah, I did. So it's cool having her see everybody. She seems to believe that just because I was, the quarterback or whatever, that I was like this big jerk in high school. I mean, I don't know, maybe somebody's listening to this and will say that, but I don't think I was. Matt, you were actually, I was at the barbershop. I was talking with one of your fellow classmates, Jake Down. He actually said that you kind of dropped the ball a little bit with this upcoming reunion, whereas in the past you were one of the ringleaders setting it up. Maybe you haven't quite taken up that role this time around.
No, it's in the works. No, and I was going to say it hasn't been publicly. So maybe this is the first public announcement of it. So you brought up the 20-year, like for you, it seems like 20 years is so far away. My 20 year is coming up. Wow. So yeah, next year, 2023 will be our 20 years. So my thought was, my grand plan. So first, let me tell this. So we had an 11-year reunion. We were going to do it in the 10th year, but like some stuff happened, and so it had to get canceled. So we were like, whatever, who cares? Let's just do it in the 11th year. No one really cares anymore. And I always credit my wife. I kind of organized it, and it was my excuse to get together with my wife because we graduated together. And I always credit our reunion as what got our reunited relationship going, because otherwise I lived out in Connecticut at the time. She was still in Owosso or whatever. Like, what was my excuse to like bump into her at Meyer and like spark up a conversation? So I organized a reunion and forced it to happen. But anyway,
you showed up to this reunion on the prowl.
Yeah.
That's
100%.
That's awesome, man.
100%. Yeah, talked her up a little bit, got her number, and the rest is history from there. So 20 years is coming up. So my big idea, and I think it'd be pretty cool. I gotta talk to your dad about this, Jared. But like you mentioned, bunch of people have kids now, and I think it'd be cool to go to Elsa Meyer and have like a 2-part reunion. Have the first part be at Elsa Meyer where anyone can come, but if you have kids, bring your kids, play on all the toys that we all grew up playing on. Let the kids play, have like pizza, whatever, like light stuff, in the afternoon, and then move it on probably to like Fortitude or Wrought Iron Grill.
I mean, isn't Alec Faber a part of your class?
Yeah.
I would think that Fortitude would probably be the natural selection.
It's a no-brainer. But, if he didn't want to do it at his place of business, I would understand that. I'm sure he'd be fine with it. But, and then, later have the adult version. Hopefully everyone has like babysitters or something, and you can drop the kids off and everyone come out and have a good time. Because that's what our first one, that 11-year one, it was at, it was before he opened Fortitude, but it was in the same spot. We basically put up a tent, got a bunch of kegs. We were playing flip cup. We were playing beer pong. We were playing cornhole. It was just like a big Corona party out in the field until we ordered Domino's at like 11 at night. They brought like 30 pizzas out, and it was just a good time. Kind of same as what you said. Our class, yes, people have moved to different states or even just around the state of Michigan, but for the most part, like, we've stayed pretty close. So it's kind of, hearing Jake Dowland say that, it makes me even more want to move forward with this, because I think that's what it takes. We talked about it with Faster Horses, when you and your friends were going, it always takes like someone to do it. Yeah. Everyone wants to do this stuff, but someone or 2 or 3 people have to like get the ball rolling, start making reservations, get a date out there well in advance so people can make plans. So Jake, if you're listening, the ball has not been dropped.
Now, this is 20 coming up, and you had a really good class athletically. Has there been thoughts in your mind about like a Friday golf outing, to tie into a reunion weekend?
Yeah, we were going to try and do something like that, or it's been thrown out anyway. Yeah, going probably, to Corona Hills on Friday, see if people want to golf, and then Saturday would be the actual reunion or whatever. I actually wanted to throw out one of the first home games this year for Corona, if the field actually gets finished and everything.
That'd be cool.
Seeing if a bunch of the football guys wanted to get together, because it'd be the 20th anniversary of our 9-0 regular season, the last undefeated regular season in Corona's football. But if it was like unofficial, it could be like an unofficial thing. It doesn't have to be like some big official event, but just like hitting up a bunch of dudes and being like, hey, y'all want to come back to the Nick, see the new field, and then we can all get together and shoot the shit.
There's easy tie-in. You just shoot a message to the head coach. Probably love to have you guys go give a pregame speech an hour before in the old locker room.
Seeing as the head coach was our head coach.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how you get the boys rallied to go to that. But yeah, it just bring it full circle. I mean, I'm already looking forward to the 10-year. It's a great time, great excuse to just go and kind of let it rip. And it's fun. It was just cool hearing what everybody's up to. I know that's kind of cliche to say, but yeah, it's just.
I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but like, again, bringing up this vacation. I think I brought it up last week when my mother-in-law had a party for family, and we invited a bunch of friends, and a decent group of people came out that I hadn't seen in a while. It's just something about like the people you grew up with, even if it's people I haven't seen in 10 years, 15 years, you just like fall back into like how it was when you were in high school or middle school. Maybe that's not the same for everyone. And maybe that's why I'm like, thankful for the class, the group of people that I grew up with. But, you get together with those people, and it's just like you're back,
transported back to 2002.
Transported back to 2002, and you're just talking about whatever. And now you got some kids running around and stuff. But
yeah, you got all that good stuff to talk about. You know, my crew, you know, it's, hey, how's your hip doing? Did you get your hip replaced? How's the prostate hanging? Oh man, sorry to hear about that. I mean, it's a true fact, which is depressing. But when you do get to be my age, conversations when you go out with friends, all of a sudden, I don't know why it does it, but it shifts to how your medical status is.
Well, I mean, ours a lot has shifted to kids, and we've said that, like, we're all hanging out and we're like, why the hell? All we're talking about is our damn kids.
Right?
Can we like just talk about parties? At least you, Jared, you're kind of still in that age a little bit.
100%. No doubt.
I mean, I'm even starting to feel that, man. It's just the older you get, and like I'm thinking about, you know, Faster Horses is coming up this weekend, but a lot of people talk about it. It's hilarious to me how the fact that I'm not going, it almost feels like that event is not even taking place. Whereas back in the day, when we would have those summer trips to Faster Horses, it felt like the whole summer revolved around it.
Right.
And everybody was talking about it, and it was the biggest thing in the world that weekend. And it's just funny. I was like debating it with my roommate, basically like, I don't even know if I would want to go back there. It's just like, I feel like once I hit out of the college age, it's me, like, I'm just going to go walk around this infield and like party. It's depressing to even think about walking those hallowed grounds anymore, because you're not what you once were, man. You really aren't.
And think
it's all
about
the group you were with. If you're with a solid group of friends, then you'd still have a good time. It would be different, sure, but
right.
But we're talking 5 years, only 5 years from high school.
I was gonna say, man,
dude, I mean, you guys look at that and probably think like, oh, you're crazy, but that's just how I feel. I feel like I've aged 20 years in these 5 years, man.
Yeah, a work career where you put in the hours you do, it'll do that. Now, before we move on, talk a little sports, including the All-Star game and a few other things here in midsummer. You know, geez, I lost my train of thought there for a second.
Did you hit up Skymint?
How was the week off? How was the few days off? How'd that go for you?
For All-Star break, didn't really have it, man. I mean,
Really?
we have our family reunion coming up, so I kind of said, you know, I'm gonna buckle down and just work through this, because I know I already have basically my own version of All-Star break coming up. So no, it wasn't really much of a break. Just been working. You know, I stopped back in for the family reunion. I did turn around and have to drive back to work the next morning. Let's just say that driving to work, I ended up stopped at a parking lot, carpool lot for about 10 minutes, if you know what I mean. Had to take a little pit stop on the way up, but felt a lot better after that.
Yeah.
But the game ended up being postponed anyway on Sunday, so it worked out perfectly.
Right.
But yeah, no, been working all the way through it. You know, we just getting geared up for our family reunion coming up next weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and we're going to do our official weigh-in Monday. I think I'll be in contention. I don't know if I'll win, but I will at least be knocking on the door, and like we've talked about before, hopefully can keep the change in lifestyle and change in eating habits, and you know, not go off it too much, you know, as the future goes forward, because I'd still like to get down another at least 10-15 pounds, and then have that be my running weight. You know,
when
what I mean?
Is the weigh-in officially happening? Is it Friday night, for Thursday night?
No, the way we set it up, it's going to be kind of cool. We are weighing in Monday, which happens to be your dad's birthday, but we're weighing in, and we're all sending the ones that are in contention anyway, that thinks they might win. We'll send our weight percentage to your dad, and then if the person is deemed the winner or second place, they got to have the photographic evidence of standing on the scale at weigh-in and at weigh out. So I mean, it's $500 on the line, man.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, if I was in this competition, I felt like I had a chance. I'm putting a GoPro in the corner of your bathroom to make sure you're not. There's something I would not trust you in this competition.
Oh, just me,
I feel like as soon as money comes around, you kind of like you turn into like you're the Hulk or something.
Oh no,
something flips in the brain.
That's terrible, young nephew. I will say this: if I don't win, I'm going to be happy either way, just because I lost weight. But if I don't win, I hope it's one of the young people that wins, and could really use the money, if you know what I'm saying. So
yeah,
no, that's a solid chunk of change that you're not just going to want to mess around. You've put the work in too, so
Absolutely.
There's a little bit of an honor code to it, right? But
it's there's definitely honor there. And Jared, I can assure you, if I need to get a Bible out, I'm not going to cheat. So all right,
I'm in the competition, so I'll take your word for it. But I'm just saying, I'm just instinctually I would be my hairs would be sticking up on the back of my neck with this weighing coming in all from remote locations.
Well, I'm just glad that you're not a part of it now. I can tell you that much. Throwing stones like that.
I would have won that damn thing.
Yeah, right.
That's
Sure.
what everybody says.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, let's take a little short break. And again, we are so happy to have Skymint on board as one of our corporate sponsors. We'll tell you more about that as the show goes along, but we'll be back, talk a little baseball. The Tigers didn't have a very good end of the first half of the season. We got some All-Star news to get into. Miggy got in the game, and Soto got in the game. There were some things that people are talking about today. We'll be right back right after this.
Rivals Taphouse and Grille is the area's go-to spot for the best in food and drink. Meet up with your friends and catch your favorite sporting events on over 20 high-def flat-screen TVs.
And our 120-inch projection screen.
Rivals can handle your large or small parties and is an awesome spot to put on your fundraising events. Weekly food and drink specials including gourmet burgers, wings, pizza, homemade soup, and salads. Rivals also stocks a large selection of craft and domestic brews. Rivals Taphouse and Grille, the official gathering spot of 3 Point Podcast, located on the corner of Shiawassee and M21 in Corona.
AZEE Printing Solutions, formerly Hankered Sportswear, is a full-service print shop that specializes in screen printing, digital printing, and embroidery. They pride themselves on giving a great product at a great value. The area's go-to printing solution offers a 100% guarantee to exceed your expectations. AZEE Printing Solutions has your favorite local spiritware as well as many other apparel items in stock. Specialty items are available for family, sports, business, and charity events. Call 989-725-2979 or stop into the store in downtown Owosso.
The Wash of Owosso is excited to welcome you to their new and state-of-the-art full-service laundromat, conveniently located at 809 West Main Street in historic Westtown, Owosso. They're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the coin laundry, or you can drop off your laundry for wash and fold service Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. Too busy to stop in? No problem, as the Wash of Owosso will pick up your laundry right at your door and will deliver it back to you the next day. Go online to thewashofowosso.com. That's thewashofowosso.com to view pricing or call 989-472-3322 and schedule your pickup. As a special 3 Point Podcast bonus, enter code 3PP, that's the number 3 and 2 P's, at checkout for 10% off your first order. The 3 Point Podcast team welcomes the Wash of Owosso to our team.
All right, let me start first, guys. Just before we get to the All-Star chatter, the Tigers just completely embarrassed themselves 10-0 the last game. Thank God, like you mentioned, they had the rain out on Sunday. I don't know if it was good for them to regroup or not. And then also they decided to send Spencer Torkelson back down to AAA to try and work on a few things. You know, you hate to see a guy struggle when he's brought up and not make it over 200, but maybe he can work out some kinks in his game. I guess the big story as far as the Tigers go is their general manager, Al Avila, is not a big popular person with Tiger fans right now. And, you know, I mean, with some justification, they're just not performing.
Well, there's just a laundry list of bad trades that he's made, or even holding on to guys for too long. Held on to Matt Boyd too long, held on to Michael Fulmer too long. Got absolutely nothing in return for Justin Verlander, and Verlander's still one of the best pitchers in the game. I mean, I see people bagging on him for the contract that they gave Miggy. At the time, you had to give him that contract. I mean, if you were going to keep him, that's what you had to pay him. So I don't really care about that. It's just we're in year 7 of this rebuild, and we were so used to, I mean, basically all of Jared's life for the most part until recently, the Tigers were in contention. I mean, they didn't make the playoffs every year. They missed it a couple times, but they were always like there in contention. And this last 7 years has been brutal, even this year, because, yeah, like you mentioned, Torkelson, he was supposed to be the guy. He was supposed to be, or at least one of the guys. Casey Mize hasn't really panned out, mainly because of injuries. And it's just all of this, the bad drafts, the bad trades, the bad signings. I mean, it's kind of like, why are they keeping this guy around? What has he done to prove that he can win? And it's disappointing.
It's easy for me to just pile on. The team, what can he do with these injuries?
Right.
The draft, that's this, that's that. Justin Verlander, I don't know how the hell he's still pitching. God, he's pitching like best pitcher in the MLB still. I don't know where this came from. Freaking second half of his career has just been incredible. I didn't see it coming at all. But it's just this team is so plagued by injury. I don't think you can really fault him for this Eduardo Rodriguez signing. He's got personal matters he's dealing with. I mean, he was pitching pretty well when he was on the team, so I don't think you can totally write that off as a bad signing. I feel like the Javier Baez, that was a controversial signing at the time. I think he's really found his rhythm here in the second part of this season, so I think that was a good signing. The pitching staff, they're so depleted with injury. I mean, we forget we have Spencer Turnbull on the roster, just threw a no-hitter last season and then injured like about a week later. Like I said, Casey Mize is out. I mean, people are faulting him. They're faulting Hinch. It's like this team they're still plagued with injury. And it's easy to forget that when you have these young guys who are kind of stepping up and showing that they have some talent, like a Bo Brisky and guys like that. But I just don't think you can forget how plagued with injury this team is. And if you want to fault Avila, and sometimes it's just kind of the way it is, where if you don't immediately show results, they're going to can you. And I guess that kind of is what it is at this point. But I don't look at his tenure as a complete failure. I just think it's been partially, some failures here, some failures there, but also just some bad luck.
Yeah, and I don't like living in the past either, and I'll cut him a little bit of slack. I mean, when you think about what they had, when they had Verlander, they had Scherzer, they had the other pitchers that they had J.D. Martinez. I mean, Castellano, he went on to play well. I mean, that's a little bit of a problem with baseball, that these players become so good that they deserve the money that they can get out there. But unfortunately for us in the Tigers area, kind of a small medium market, it's not like New York or LA. These players can go to those markets and get that kind of money, and the owners don't care. They pay it. They pay whatever the luxury tax is, and they're knocking on the World Series door every year. Tigers are in a bad situation, and they had that core there that it's, and we've talked about it before, starting in 2006 when they signed Pudge Rodriguez, they became a legitimate franchise. And for 10 period, 10, 12 years, like you said, Matt, they may not have made the playoffs every single year, but they were a team to reckon with all those years, and that's not the general manager's fault necessarily. I mean, that goes to ownership. You start with Mike Ilitch and now his family. And, I'm not smart enough to know how to make it all work, but it seems like that's where the Tigers are at a disadvantage.
Yeah, something's missing. I still think, I think most people would agree that AJ Hinch is still one of the better managers in the league. And like you said, Jared, I mean, all the injuries that they've had this year, it's almost like they're snake bitten, but it's almost like the track record. I think Avila's been there since 2002 or something. So like he obviously was there through the good years, but this rebuild has been terrible. I mean, a rebuild's not supposed to take 7 years. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, even if this team is just riddled with injuries, that's fair, but this is year 7. So it's almost like, where's the depth? Like if you do get hit with injuries, there should be some depth. A lot of teams get injuries and they don't just fall off the tracks because of a couple injuries. So,
well, here's a comparison for you. Look at the Orioles. They've rattled off 10 or 11 wins in a row. They're 500 going into the second half of the season, and they were right where the Tigers were starting their rebuild.
Yeah, or think about the Rays. The Rays always trade dudes away or do whatever, and they're always making the playoffs with like a tiny little payroll. They're paying no one and making the playoffs. And some of these other teams, the Mariners, are now probably going to make a run at the playoffs. So it's like that's where it's getting disappointing because, like you said, you had these trade pieces. You had a Verlander that you could have got some legit prospects. And the other thing is, too, baseball prospects, to an extent, you have no idea how some of these guys are going to pan out. Even if you think Spencer Torkelson's a no-brainer, number 1 draft pick, you never know.
And he was. That's like why it's just like, man, sometimes and he's still young.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say this, man. Riley Green nailed that one. I mean, we already know that. So I guess we can't fault him for that too much. The Verlander trade, I wasn't following baseball too closely at the time. I can't really speak on that. I mean, it's pretty clear that we got swindled in that one. The Austin Meadows trade this year, I remember at the time thinking we swindled the Rays.
Right.
Yeah.
And, it's just Meadows has vertigo. Meadows has COVID. He just hasn't been able to, he's been starting to pull like Achilles injuries in both his Achilles. It's like, I mean, who else do you have to point to other than him to see that this team has just been snake bitten this year?
Right.
And living in Detroit now, I listen to the Detroit radio talk, and man, it's negative Tigers every single day. I didn't realize that, growing up, you don't ever really hear about them. But I don't think people are saying like, oh, we got to restart the rebuild. I'm not that far. I don't know how you can say that. I think this starting rotation being healthy, the bullpen's shown that they're damn good. I think we have some hitters. Give Torkelson and Green another year to develop. And I think we get one more solid bat in the lineup. And I think it's still a good team that just needs to have the momentum go their way. I feel like baseball is such a momentum, having fun, loving coming to the park every day type sport. And I just think once you get losing right off the rip how they were and how high the expectations were unfairly, and we admitted that at the time, like, why are we thinking this team's like in win a World Series out of the blue? And you mix all those things in, it's just a season from hell. And I really do think next year the expectations will be low, and they will come through and be a damn good team. I don't know if they'll compete for a World Series, but I do think they'll be above 500. And the team that we expected this season, we will see them next year. Whether Avila's there to see it through or not, that's the decision for the management to make. But I don't think it's a deal breaker if he's back or if he's not, whether or not this team will be successful in the next few years.
Well, hope you're right.
I hope like hell that they don't blow it up and rebuild again, because who knows how long that's going to take. Because, you probably could, guys like Torkelson, Green, Skubal, Mize, some of these other pitchers, you probably could get some pretty good prospects and players for those. There's probably a lot of teams who would trade to add those guys to their current roster. Think about the Red Sox, Yankees, Mets, Mariners. If you could add a Riley Green, that could maybe put them over the top type of thing. But so, I hope they don't. I hope they just, get healthy, first of all. And then, they've got to add some more veteran players, some solid veteran players that you maybe thought in Austin Meadows was going to be. You got to hope that Javier Baez just kind of turns things around, because he's here for a while. I mean, they paid him. He's the shortstop for at least, 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. So you hope that he can turn it around. And then the big thing, they need an ace. They need Casey Mize, or they need Skubal to finally come into his own. They need somebody, Matt Manning, to get healthy. They need a legitimate ace, because you look at every good team. Whenever the Tigers were good, they had David Price, Verlander, Scherzer, even Porcello was like the number 4 pitcher. Anibal Sanchez was the number 5 pitcher, and he would have been a number 1 or 2 on a bunch of other teams. So they need consistency. The bullpen is finally good. I mean, we all remember, Ted, especially the bullpen through those years we talked about was always the issue. The bullpen was always the issue. Now we have a good bullpen. Everything else is falling apart, though. So.
Yeah, the closer always made you nervous in those years. That's for sure. Whoever it was, they rotated a few through there. What's that?
I think it drives me insane. I swear, every reliever, every bullpen guy, every closer, it's a given. They're going to walk that first goddamn after that. It's a given every time, and it infuriates me so much.
Ted, you definitely remember the Todd Jones days.
Oh, yeah.
Todd Jones was like solid, but there was a reason they called him Roller Coaster Jones, because it was like there was never just a clean 1, 2, 3.
No.
Yeah.
Like you said, Jared, it was always walk a guy hits a double, and you're sitting there sweating.
Yeah, with first and third, and then he'll get a few outs. One guy we'll throw out there, man, and I'm late to the party on this, but he is going to be a stud. Alex Lang. He's a bullpen guy. They always bring him out in the highest of leverage situations. He's got some nasty stuff. I mean, it takes a lot for me to kind of, be to some of his pitches, but he's got some crazy movement, and he rocks the turtleneck, which I tell you what, he rocks it. I'm like, man, that is a damn good look. That's something I kind of wish I would have brought out back in the day.
I bet Ted probably rocked the turtleneck back in his fast pitch softball days.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I'm telling you, just keep an eye on him. I think he's going to be an all-star, maybe even a closer coming in the next few years.
Yeah.
Whenever he comes in, he balls out.
He was maybe going to make the all-star game. And I mean, speaking of it, we haven't mentioned him, Soto, one of the relievers who did make the all-star game for the Tigers. I mean, so there are pieces there. And I've seen some people say that it's time to start the rebuild over. And it's like, I get that they're terrible this year, but no, let's not start the rebuild over. Like, what are we talking about?
Just go make one big trade, one big hitter, one big time player. And I feel like we're there.
Don't break them up. I agree with you. And I also agree with Jared, your statement about the closer coming in and walking the first guy. I mean, he's had a good year, but he tends to do that. He did that in the All-Star game last night, but he got away with it. And speaking of the All-Star game, let's talk that a little bit. Soto, the Tiger rep officially, and then Cabrera made it as the legend that he is. But a lot of stuff on social media today about Cabrera. They happened to have Big Papi do his little shtick thing, and we didn't even see Cabrera bat. That was weird.
I mean, we saw his ground out. They cut to him right when he swung, hit it, ground out, done. And
in the version I saw, they didn't even have that. So I don't even.
Really?
I mean, no, it was bizarre. And Matt, you know this working in TV. Just I actually went and like asked one of my producers about it, like kind of get his opinion. Like, what would you have done in this situation? So basically, to lay it out, basically, top of the 5th inning. Shohei Ohtani was supposed to be up for his 3rd time. Next thing you know, I can just picture it in the work truck. Next thing you know, pinch hitter Miguel Cabrera is in, and that seemed like a segment that they probably had planned. No matter what, we're gonna do this top of the 5th inning. We're gonna do this whole Big Papi man on the street type dugout interview, and it just so happened that it was Miguel Cabrera was the one that happened to be in the batter's box for it. I will say I didn't know it didn't, and this is just a complaint we've always had about Miguel Cabrera, man. It wasn't really much of a national outcry. The fact that we missed his at bat, it was a Detroit outcry.
Well, yeah,
which is maybe the most telling thing.
Right. I think that's the story with everything with Miguel Cabrera. I mean, even when he gets his 3,000th and his 500, 600 home runs, he's the last guy to hit a Triple Crown. You don't really hear about it much. If he was doing everything he's doing for the Tigers with the Red Sox or with the Yankees, he'd be up there with a Derek Jeter. People would be looking at this guy like he's the greatest player ever. And yeah, people who are like baseball junkies give him his credit. And I think that's part of why there wasn't that national outcry, because people were like, oh yeah, Miguel Cabrera, yeah, cool. He's in the All-Star game just as a legend. And, it's a shame because he's not going to retire. Pujols was there because this is his last year. So, they were giving him his love and, he's done. Miggy has said he's going to play, out his contract anyway. Probably not going to make another All-Star game unless in his final year they do the same thing and bring him back.
Was what I would think. I think if he makes it pretty clear, like a Pujols that, hey, this is my last year. It wouldn't make sense to me. Why would they have Miguel Cabrera be a legacy this year and then in his final season not bring him back? So in that sense, I feel like Fox is let off the hook, where it's like, he's probably still going to have his moment to shine next year. And he also, luckily, he grounded out. Imagine if that's a home run. Imagine if that's a double or something like that. It's probably a little bit bigger of a deal. But the fact that it was just another routine out, I can see why there's maybe not the national outcry. But it is a funny situation, and I love to picture that truck. I do think there might have been some panic when that happened, but I think that's one of those things they just kind of were like, we got to roll with it. We got
to roll with it because they probably had so many paid sponsored elements they had to run. I mean, this stuff is all planned out. Like people who haven't like worked in TV or whatever, maybe don't like all this stuff is planned out. Breaks, promos, when they do that whole stand up for cancer thing, with MasterCard, that's planned. All of this stuff is planned out. So like you said, Jared, I bet the Big Papi thing, it was top of the 5th, and that's when it's happening. And if you adjust that, then you're messing up all your other breaks and promos and everything else. So it's kind of like, we got to roll with it. And hopefully, if he hits a home run, we'll kind of adjust on the fly. But
well, let me ask you this little inside baseball TV producing for you guys. You're both in the industry. How hard would it have been to do a split screen?
Well, they did do a split screen later for the next batter.
Well,
I don't think Miggy's at bat was more than a few pitches. So I'm guessing
it might have been the first pitch. Yeah, he might have hit that first pitch.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like, well, damn. I mean, they probably plan on we're going to miss a pitch, maybe 2 pitches, and that's kind of the delicate balance with an event like that. How much of it is covering the game? How much of it is like, let's just make a cool event out of this? And I do think it was kind of cool seeing Papi go throughout the dugout. And
it was a little weird. It was almost kind of awkward.
It was, yeah. I mean, it is what it is. That the players are all kind of weirded out by it,
right? Because he was trying to ask like some actual questions, but then he was also trying to be like goofy. So it was kind of like, what is this supposed to be funny, or are you trying to actually interview people?
Yeah,
I mean, you're Big Papi, so you're trying to have fun. And then I'm pissed off because I didn't get to see Miguel Cabrera's at bat. So I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, and I mean, think about this from a national perspective. Of all the players in that game, Shohei, Juan Soto, name the All-Star down the list. If there's a guy that I'm going to miss at bat, it's probably Miguel Cabrera. If I had to be honest, if I'm watching this from a national perspective, who do I really not care to see his at bat maybe as much as these other guys? It's probably Miguel Cabrera.
Well, here's the thing.
You're a
There
hater.
it's
No,
a
well, I
national.
mean, it's just he's a legend. You know, he's having a good year, but it's like he's not retiring. He's
Right.
not Pujols. It just is. You know, he's gonna have that moment next year.
Well, listen, I know they're trying to do the whole entertainment thing, but listen, this is one of their real marquee events nationally, the All Star game. They bring out all the production. I could have cared less about Big Poppy going in the dugout
Right.
and doing that stupid shtick. You should never miss one pitch to a player that's earned his way to the All Star game.
Well, I mean,
That's the old school in me. Not one pitch.
I mean, that's kind of the big no-no. If you miss a pitch, like coming out of a commercial break or getting laid out of a replay, that's the type of stuff that gets you reamed.
Yeah.
So that's what's kind of like that's what makes you think. It's just this was a asserted choice that we're not so much worried about the game. We're worried about putting on an entertaining thing for people at home, and that is why I'm kind of surprised that it was not a split screen. But like I said, I think Miguel Cabrera's at bat was so quick that it just kind of was what it was.
Now,
and
some
the split
positives.
screens thing too. The split screens. I mean, I'm sure they, you kind of pre-produce this stuff before the game and get it ready.
Mm-hmm.
But you do kind of have to. You can't just like do it on the fly. You do kind of have to be prepared for it. So I do wonder if during the commercial break they were even talking about doing a split screen. Maybe if he got into 4, 5, 6 pitches in his at bat, they would have. But right, he got up there, swung, ground out. They were probably like, "Shit, cut to it." Oh, all right, back to Poppy.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
well,
Well,
we didn't
don't
see
they-
Miguel Cabrera.
Don't they talk about stuff like that in a production meeting? Let's say they're going, fifth inning, we're going to have Poppy go down here and interview the players. Why wouldn't they bring it up right then and say, hey, we're going to go to a split screen if there's
because
a batter,
it's like I think they made the conscious choice. We're okay with missing a pitch or two,
which is a dumb choice.
to have this be full.
Right.
I don't think it really was. I mean, we really think about it. What
I
did you miss? You
disagree.
missed the ground out. And the moment that would have been cool is the announcing Miguel Cabrera and the crowd cheering and all that.
Right.
Dude, people are overreacting to that. I mean, it's a little bit of you guys are calling me a hater. I think I'm more of a realist, man. This isn't like we missed Babe Ruth up at the plate. Miguel Cabrera's a legend, best player I've ever seen wear a Tigers uniform. My favorite Tiger ever. So the fact that I'm saying this should mean something to you fellas. It is what it is. They missed it. You shouldn't keep you up at night. Shouldn't have you run into Twitter to bitch about how they're disrespectful, this, that. Dude, it's an all-star game. Get over it.
They disrespected him.
Now, some positive things. It's kind of neat that taking over for Joe Buck is now Joe Davis out of Potterville, Michigan. And then Potterville, Michigan. Believe it or not.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that. Joe Davis, he's a Dodgers broadcaster.
He's
correct?
a Dodgers broadcaster, and here he is just down the road from John Smoltz out of Lansing, of course, Lansing Waverly. I mean, I thought Davis did a great job. I mean, he didn't seem nervous at all. He's a young pro. I think he's in his 20s, I think.
He's
young, for sure.
Yeah.
No, it was good. And I did think about that, I don't know, a couple innings in. I was like, oh, yeah, this would be Joe Buck. But this guy's doing pretty good. I saw at some point, I think I saw some people on Twitter talking about where he was from. It's a cool connection.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Potterville, Michigan.
Potterville.
Little teeny town, Potterville, Michigan.
We like to act like we're so freaking awesome at Corona, man. Every other school has a cooler alum than us, man. I mean, our best one's Tony Anise. Yeah, he's awesome, good coach. But, I mean, Joe Davis is pretty freaking cool, man. He's a national figure.
Throwing local stones tonight, Jared. I love it.
Where we are. I mean, really think about it. I mean, you got Brad Van Pelt at Owosso. Even Potterville's got, a cooler alum than us.
Good point. I will say this, too. It was cool to see the game at Dodger Stadium. I always forget. And on my California trip with the family, got a chance to look at it and go actually inside. It's a beautiful stadium. And I didn't realize, or at least I'd heard it before, but forgot. It's the third oldest stadium in Major League Baseball behind Wrigley and Fenway. It's a pretty cool setup they have there at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, I know they've done a few little renovations or whatever, but that's another one. I hope they don't change it, especially it being LA and, them building these big, huge mega stadiums like outside of the city. Dodger Stadium should always just be Dodger Stadium, right where it's at. Same with Wrigley Field. Don't ever change it. You already put in the huge scoreboard that changes the look. It's a little different, but don't move it. Keep it the way it's supposed to be.
Great backdrop.
Yeah.
Oh, no question. And what a beautiful field. They had it in pristine shape. I mean, and the other thing, you guys might be surprised. I wasn't overly disappointed with the different uniforms between the American and National League. I still like it when they wear their uniforms of their team, but I got to admit that the uniforms last night were probably the best alternates in an All-Star game I've seen. I mean, I liked them.
I thought they were slick, especially the American League ones, the black with the gold letters. I thought
Yeah.
maybe it's because I'm a Corona guy, the black and
Right.
gold.
Dude,
But
white and gold, like the New Orleans Saints, it's maybe the best color scheme. I don't think we're biased in saying that. I mean, it's just wow. It's like royalty. It's like color of royalty. It's awesome. Right. No, they look cool. Yeah, I liked them too. I see what you're saying with the them wearing their own jerseys, but it's like, man, they wear them every freaking game. I mean, like, how about a game where they don't wear them? And let's just appreciate it.
Yeah,
I feel like part of it, I think you mentioned it last year, Ted, like part of it is like if there's some guys you don't know, at least they'd be wearing like their Rockies jersey or the Cardinals or whatever, so you could kind of put that together. But I like the alternate. Same with the NBA All Star game. It was cool when they would wear their home and aways. I like the alternate. It's like one game. Do something crazy, do something cool with the uniforms for one game. It's okay.
How cool was the having the pitcher and catcher mic periodically?
I loved it.
That was awesome.
I thought it was really cool. And, get to hear, I mean, they're obviously playing it up for TV a little bit. I just thought it was interesting hearing their dialogue and hearing them talk back and forth. And then they even asked some questions about like their hometowns and stuff like that. Like, it's just, that's the kind of stuff. They're never going to do that like in real games, but that's the kind of stuff that I think baseball needs. Like show like the pitcher Cortez from the Yankees, you got to see his personality. You got to see like this dude, he's kind of like a little bit of a character, without that segment, you wouldn't even know it. He does the kind of crazy pitches, but
and Alex Manoah, man, I didn't really know honestly, I didn't know who this guy was until I saw this mic'd up segment of him pitching. And he was he went 1, 2, 3 strikeouts. He was a character the whole game. Even when Big Papi was asking him in the dugout, hey, how would you pitch to me? He was giving him a great answer. And then Big Papi just like walked away. So it's like, whatever. That's maybe why Big Papi was a better baseball player than interviewer. But no, he stole the show in my opinion. First, he was lighting it up, giving the announcers everything they wanted, and just balling out while he was doing it. So that was awesome.
Was he the one that said to Smoltz, hey, what do you want me to throw this pitch? And he says, I hit a slider outside. I mean, that was really cool.
Yeah. It is cool. And that's what an all-star game should be. Like, you want to win or whatever, but have some fun with it. Like it was cool when Judge and Stanton were mic'd up at the same time in the outfield, stuff like that. It is cool.
Did you guys,
I mean, Ted, this is maybe a question directed at you. What a duo. They're built like Greek goddesses, or not goddesses, but Greek gods. That was a bit of a funny mess up, but I mean, it's funny looking at them compared to the scrub-a-dubs you had out in the outfield back in the day. I mean, they looks like they're playing a different sport.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize Stanton was as big as he was, and Judge is huge too. I mean, it's amazing.
The way Stanton hits the ball is like porn for baseball junkies. Because you're taught your whole life, to step in the bucket, and a lot of your power comes from your legs. Yeah, this dude is just all upper body. He's obviously probably got super strong legs too. But the way he hit that home run, the way he turns on the ball so quickly, I could just watch his home runs over and over. Just all upper body, and it's just like a rocket out to left field.
Always, I mean, we saw this with Prince Fielder and Miguel Cabrera. Having like 2 home run bombers like right back to back in the lineup, it's the coolest thing you can have in baseball. I don't care if they're horrible at everything else. Give me 2 home run hitters that give them some funny nickname like the Bash Brothers or something like that. I mean, we saw what was it, Aguirre and Canseco back in the day.
Aguirre and Canseco,
it's the coolest thing that baseball's ever seen.
Mantle and Maris too.
I was gonna say Mantle and Maris. That's Ted's generation.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, this is about as much baseball as we've talked in a while, fellas. It's all good. I got one other thing before we move on to potpourri and maybe a Tedertainment or two. This has been bugging me. Pete Rose. Okay, we've had this conversation before about whether he belongs in the Hall of Fame. And he's not in the Hall of Fame because of betting on baseball as a manager. But baseball seems to be real high and mighty until it comes to money. And I notice even on Bally Sports broadcast, Jared, they have, here's the spread for the game. Here's the over-under on home runs. They're talking about betting on that specific game. And is it time maybe now to just say, hey, Rose deserves to be in it. Let's put him in there. Forget the lifetime ban.
I'd love to, get into this damn conversation for what feels like the 30th time with you. It's not time for him to be in. It's time for this conversation to die. It is what it is. Nothing's going to change. They're not just going to wake up one day and say, "Hey, this thing we've stood against for the last 50 years, now we're forgetting about it. You're in now."
Well, you're missing my point, though, that baseball's embracing legalized betting now on their games. That's my point.
Right.
That's why I think the timing of this is why I brought it up again. I mean, they're embracing, all these betting sites out there and talking about it on the broadcast.
It's kind of the same as we talked about our new partner, Skymint. It's kind of the same as now that marijuana is legal in a lot of states. That's what people are bringing up. Well, what about these people who went to jail a year or two ago for just having, a couple joints on them when they got pulled over for a traffic stop? Should their sentences be lessened now that this stuff is legal? It's kind of along those same lines, because it was a big deal for sports in like ESPN, Bally Sports, and all these networks, and just the sports to embrace gambling, because that it was such like a hush hush thing. You used to not like talk about gambling on sports.
Right. Now
it's just legal. It's normal. I mean, you guys could walk into Rivals or wherever in Corona, Owosso, place bets, go downtown Detroit and place bets, and it is. Middleman Matt here again. I agree with both of you. Ted, yes. Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame, partly because now gambling is legalized, also partly because get the hell over it. He's one of the best players ever. Like, he should be in the Hall of Fame. I also agree with Jared. I doubt like one day baseball is just going to wake up and be like, yeah, you know what? This is the day. This is the day. I feel like they've dug their heels in. I don't think he's ever getting in.
Here's also the thing we're forgetting. He was betting on his own games. Something doesn't seem right
to
about
win,
that.
At least to win is everything.
And it's funny how he's always said that, dude. Well, he clearly had a problem. You think he drew the line right there? No, dude. He probably saw his team sucked a few nights and definitely probably threw a buck or two on them losing.
Well,
it's funny that people just take that as face value. Oh, he never bet on him. He never bet to lose.
Well, he never was proven to. Let's put it that way. They never proved it.
It was as a manager. I think it changes a little bit. It was when he was a manager. I mean, you could like make some moves to hurt your team, but it wasn't when he was a player. It's not like he was, dogging it out there. I don't think that's ever in question. I also always think too, like, do we really think Pete Rose is the only guy who ever did this? Like, he's the one that got caught. I doubt that he's the only one.
It is what it is. He got caught. I mean, I'm not going to be there grandstanding saying I think he probably should be in, or at least maybe make a distinction. He's in only as a player. But I don't know, man. I mean, you start doing stuff like that, and I don't blame the MLB. I mean, you got to take a stand somewhere, and I guess that's the one place that they could really make a stand was just keeping him out of the Hall of Fame. So I don't blame them.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. That's where I stand on that at this point. And you talked about. We'll move on to our last spot here in a minute, but. Talked about the people that were busted for marijuana back in the days, guys like Tim Allen. He spent prison time for marijuana. A guy I know in our area, just a really great guy, but he got popped by the cops and spent some time in prison, and it screwed up his marriage and everything else. So it's good now that we have legalized places like Skymint, Skymint brands. I mean, as we mentioned, guys, before we go to our other break, we're glad to have them on board. They're Michigan's leader in the cannabis industry. I mean, think about if you're just out to a wedding or out to an event, you can check out their many locations, including Detroit, Ann Arbor, Corona now that we've talked about, and they're all really, really nice facilities. Lansing, Flint, Saginaw, Grand Rapids.
I've actually noticed a big trend coming around. Not only do they have the open bar, I've seen a lot of weddings, with TikTok, Instagram, where they'll put out, 20 J's in a bowl.
Really?
For people to grab. Yeah, almost like an open like smoke sesh, I guess. Same thing, a way an open bar would have.
Well,
it's one of those things, like, why shouldn't it be like that? Why is there still such a negative stigma around smoking marijuana? It's because of those 20, 30 years where it was talked about as like a gateway drug, and, you're a stoner, whatever, you're a pothead if you smoke. Because it is funny. Why would there be an open bar where you can literally walk up and just start ripping shots? Shot, but it's not okay to just go like take a one hitter and then go sit back and have fun with your friends. Like, it's why is it like that? So hopefully, that kind of stuff changes a little bit, and it is starting to change.
Puts you in a great frame of mind. I tell you one thing, and it's been talked about before. You don't see any of these mass shooters that are all high on pot. They might be liquored up or they might be on meth or something, but if they're sitting there smoking a doob, they're not in any mood to go get violent. They're in the mood to have a good time and laugh, and that's what it's all about. So if you're over 21, stop in at any of their stores. And what's really cool too, for convenience, you can place an order online. You can have curbside pickup, and you can check out what Skymint's all about at skymint.com. So we're glad to have them on board. We'll be back and wrap up the program with a few this and that's right after this. Nelson House Funeral Home's #1 goal is to serve the families in our area. The Nelson House staff are proud to serve our local community with reliability, integrity, and compassion. Unique service representing unique lives, ensuring your loved ones receive the honor and celebration they deserve. Founded in 1880 and continuing the tradition today with chapels in Owosso, Chesaning, and New Lothrop. For more details, find them at nelson-house.com or call 989-723-5234.
Success Group Mortgage and Servicing is Shiawassee County's only licensed mortgage broker, lender, and servicer. That means you get exclusive products not found anywhere else. If you are looking to purchase a home or refinance a home in Florida, Hawaii, or Michigan, stop what you're doing and give Success Group Mortgage and Servicing a call. 989-720-4380. That's 989-720-4380.
Looking to buy items online? Go to crauctions.com. All you need to do is download the app to your phone or computer and start buying and selling today. crauctions.com will market your items all over the country and get them sold. If you are looking to buy something, we can help with that too. Just go to crauctions.com. Search our inventory and place your bid. Plus, there are online auctions for farm machinery, firearms, automobiles, and truckloads of overstocked items. It's fast, it's easy, and you will get results. Get the app and check out crauctions.com today.
All right, well, I can kick off Tedertainment. I know it's usually your big segment, Ted, but I got a good one this week. And it's an old one, but it's a good one. I don't know if you guys have heard much about this show. I'm sure you've heard about it. It's a show unlike any I've ever seen, man. Handmaid's Tale. Recently got into it from my girlfriend. She loved it. Watched the whole 5 seasons in the matter of a couple weeks or something like that. And we've already made it to season 2 now. And I tell you what, it's a show that it keeps you up at night. It's one of those things that you watch and you're like, there's no way this could happen. This isn't realistic. But then you kind of really think about, man, this just happened in the 1940s in Nazi Germany. So basically, I'll just give a little teaser to the show, and then people can watch it and hopefully send us some reviews of it because I know you'll love it if you watch it. Basically, it's set in the near distant future, like nuclear holocaust of some sort, pollution, that whole sort of thing has really kind of upturned the United States, and it's set in Boston. And basically, what it is a handmaid, and the title is Handmaid's Tale. Handmaid is basically a woman who can still have children. Because of the pollution, because of the radiation and everything, it's very rare that people can have children. And basically, the United States and the entire world has 100 years to kind of figure this problem out, or they're going to be extinct. So basically, what they've done is if you can have children, you have basically become like a sex slave, really. For basically, where your only role is to just keep having as many children as you can. And the people that have children with you are basically this new regime, this rebellion's version of like senators. And it's just messed up. They're treated terribly. There's violence. There's obviously they basically have no rights. They're treated to the low of the low. They have no freedom whatsoever. They don't even have their name anymore. It's just terrifying. And especially with this, given with the latest things that are happening in the news, it kind of makes it hit a little bit more close to home with the kind of the lack of rights that maybe women still deal with today. But it's just it's a real mind effort. And it's one of those that I can't watch more than maybe one episode at a time, or it's like it just unnerves me and I can't sleep. I really will not be able to sleep after watching one of these episodes. They're great, but man, it's one that'll creep you right out.
No, we're caught up. The new season I know just dropped, and we it comes out weekly. The episodes do, but so we're gonna wait to get going on this season so we can knock out like a few episodes in a row or whatever. But no, we've been waiting. My wife and I we wait for this show to come out because, like you said, it really grips you. You get into it. it's super well done, Ted. I really think you would enjoy it. It's on Hulu.
Is incredible.
Yeah,
is it on Hulu? Is that what it's on Hulu?
Yeah, it's on Hulu. The acting is fantastic. The story is very well written. I know you really look at that when you watch movies and shows, how good the writing is. The writing is very good. And it's the story. Everything Jared just said is spot on. It's, you watch it and you think like, this is like pretty far fetched. But then when you kind of start thinking about it and some of the stuff that's going on, it's like, or has gone on in the past, it's like, man, this is actually like kind of scary to think about that this could happen. And you start thinking like, could this, like, would we ever go down this dark road? And
makes you wonder.
Yeah.
It's good, and maybe it's not, maybe it's the whole impregnation portion of it is not happening. But I mean, you look at some places out there, man, North Korea, it's like, man, they got to have something pretty similar to this currently going on.
Yeah.
And it's just sad.
It's one of those too that they do such a good job. Like you said, Jared, you watch it and you almost there's some scenes that are like uncomfortable because like it's such a good production. You're almost like watching it like, I don't know if I can like watch another one of these, man, but
it's like because of the pollution, it's always cloudy. The handmaids wear these all red suits with white hats, and it's just like it's just creepy, man. Ted, I know you would love it, and all of our listeners. I mean, like I said, it's a little bit unnerving, and definitely maybe takes an episode or two to get going. But once you're in it, I mean, it's like you're on the edge of your seat until. I mean, I'm 2 seasons in, and I haven't got off the edge of my seat this whole time.
Now, is that one I'll want to watch? Because I've told you before, my wife can't watch violence or rape scenes, stuff like that. Is this one I should watch on my own?
You're going to be watching a solo dolo, which is a little kind of creepy to think about, but I guess that is. I guess I couldn't watch it. I'm a lightweight with this type of stuff. It really freaks me out.
I did watch Game of Thrones myself.
That's the intention. It's not supposed to be a thriller or something, but it's just something in my wiring where stuff like that, it just makes my stomach churn.
Kind of reminds me a little bit. You talked about it. It kind of ties in with the messed up stuff going on in the States now and in the world. House of Cards was kind of that way. With the whole thing at the White House and what's been going on, and it kind of set the stage what could really happen. And then lo and behold, some of that might have happened. Especially what's going on nowadays. So yeah, I'll definitely take your advice and see if I can fit it in my viewing schedule for sure. I was going to ask you, Matt, did you get a chance yet to check out Girl in the Picture?
I didn't. I think I mentioned it last week. We kind of have a list, and Handmaid's Tale, the latest season, is added to it, and that is also because we're catching up on a couple other things. But I definitely want to. I'm going to get to it. I watched the trailer. I was like, I got to see this. So
it is the most messed up thing I've seen in a while. But it definitely keeps your attention.
Very curious to hear you say the most messed up thing that you've watched in a while. And knowing that you watch all these like murder mystery type things, it must be good. So
it moves it up a notch, huh? I was also for this segment going to tell you about, I've had a busy summer. I mean, I'm working part-time, semi-retired, and I've seen 4 different outdoor concerts, including last night over at the Clio Amphitheater again to see a group called The Rock Show. And they played, the first set was all Journey music, and then they played rock from the 80s after that for the second set. It was pretty good. But I would probably, for the summer concerts I've seen so far, Billy Joel obviously number 1. That goes without saying. I'm going to move Chi-Town to number 2, our friends at Chi-Town, and then Magic Bus, which was a 60s cover band. That was good, and that was at the Clio Amphitheater too. So I don't know where we're going to go next. We'll probably see Chi-Town somewhere else. Speaking of Chi-Town, they got a big show tomorrow night at the Machine Shop in Flint. And I know they're really looking forward to that. That's a really cool venue for them. And, we'll try to keep you up to date on what they're up to throughout the summer, but it's always good to be tied in with those guys. Good bunch of guys, including Jared, your cousin, my nephew, Casey on drums, but they put on a good show for being a local country band. I'm surprised, they weren't asked to play somewhere along the line down at Faster Horses, as one of the early bands.
That'd be cool.
They have a whole next from Nashville, like side concert place. I could see them playing there. It's just I guess they're not really next at Nashville. I mean, they're kind of an established band. They're not exactly the young and upcomers that they usually perform at that thing, but
That's
no,
true.
they always put on a good show. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Have
right.
they played at? Do they play at Rivals still, or any like local spots?
Thanksgiving, day after Thanksgiving every year.
I think it's the Saturday of Thanksgiving.
Saturday of Thanksgiving. Yep.
Yeah.
It's always after the Michigan-Ohio State game, right?
Yep.
Exactly. And I think they're playing September 3rd, Labor Day weekend, down in Royal Oak at a big festival down there. That'll be cool. And then they're headlining up at Frankenmuth again, October 1st, I believe, at that show up there, which I thought was the best one last year. It was packed. I mean, there was at least a couple thousand people there, and it was a great venue. So continue on, fellas. That's for sure.
All right. You got the connection, Jared. You should have had them play at your reunion.
Yeah.
We had the bankroll for it. That
even just a quick 45-minute set, half-hour set. 5-6 songs.
And they know the lay of the land out there too. They played a show there last year that they got about 40 minutes in before it got rained out.
Actually,
well, you're the one that's got the reunion coming up next year.
I was going to say,
give him a ring, man.
Talking about me dropping the ball. Maybe I'm coming up with an idea right now.
Yeah,
a live music performance at the.
That's a hell of an idea, and I think you'd be surprised. They're pretty reasonable. They'll work something out with you if you're seriously interested.
Yeah.
Just depends on the date.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Is there any other business we got to take care of, guys?
Did we want to talk about the love that the Lions are getting a little bit? Just
sure,
real
let's
quick?
do it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a tweet came out that they're one of the betting favorites. The most money has been put on the Lions for their over right now. Over 6 wins is kind of where it's at. And that's the most money has been placed on that for them to get the over. And the most money has also been placed on Dan Campbell being the coach of the year. I mean, part of that might not be people actually think it's going to happen. They're trying to see like which one has the best odds and, trying to make the most money or whatever, but kind of are we thinking that the Lions actually are getting a little too much hype, with the Hard Knocks and the improved roster, the really good draft that they had? People seem to like Dan Campbell. Is this like bad news that the Lions are getting a lot of hype, or do we actually think that they're hitting that over? They're going over 6 wins this year.
I would say it's bad news, but the thing that is, who knows their shit? It's Vegas. So in some, we've all said it, man. We had an uneasy feeling going into the Tigers season. We all knew that this seemed a little too good to be true. But man, 6 wins. I mean, they need to win 7 wins to have a good season. I'm here for it. I think this team is built very well. They have a ton of weapons, great offseason. The whole group is PJ Fleck rowing the boat with Campbell. Whether or not he knows his X's and O's as well as maybe he should is to be seen. But the team loves him, and the vibes are good. I said it, man. I wouldn't have just said that about when I went to the OTAs practice, a month ago or so. It really did feel like there was some magic in the air with this team. I think Hutchinson, just him bringing a jolt of energy into that locker room, the big smile, Jameson Williams potentially bringing a mid-season spark, Jared Goff kind of in a deciding year. There's a lot to root for this year. Hard Knocks coming to town. Here's what I'll say. If you are in drinking this Kool-Aid, do it now before Hard Knocks happens, because that number will probably jump up to 7, I bet.
Yeah, they'll get that bump probably. I'm excited about the Lions, like I always am before the season starts, and I'll be checking out the exhibition play. And I'm a diehard. I kind of like the fact, though, if they would sneak up on people instead of getting all this national love. I hope they can live up to the hype, but I think 7 wins is definitely doable with this team for sure.
Should be. I mean, it's the whole thing we talked about with the Tigers, the health thing. If they can stay healthy. They've got a ton of talent, like you said, Jared. And kind of like, again, what we were talking about with the Tigers and what you mentioned with the Lions, they seem to love playing for Dan Campbell. They want to play for the Lions. They're having fun right now. So whether that continues 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks into the season, we'll see. But right now, they seem to be having a ton of fun. And you kind of need that. You need that a lot when you're a team like the Lions, kind of still rebuilding, or they've been rebuilding since 1957, right, Ted? So
yeah, since 57. That's it.
Another, I totally forgot about this, guys. I'm glad I remembered it. Another reason I'm big is I'll be actually working the first preseason game, August 12th, which, I mean, say what you will about preseason, but still, hey, get to say I've done an NFL football game. So
there you
I'm
go.
looking forward to that as well.
Who's the talent?
I believe it'll be Devin Gardner, and will be the color. I'm not sure who play-by-play is off the top of my head. I'm not sure who the play-by-play will be, but I know for sure Devin Gardner will be on color.
Yeah, he's come a long ways. He's pretty good. I like what he does.
I mean, he's the kind of the perfect blend. He's charismatic, but he's also a former quarterback. So he knows his X's and O's. And I do think, he puts in the work or whatever. And I really do think he's got a big ceiling in terms of color.
Yep.
Sounds good. Well, looking forward to August 12th, August 9th, the debut of Hard Knocks. And, guys, we're making it through another summer, but let's face it, our podcast really explodes when it's football season.
Yeah. I mean, I was just, you're throwing those dates out. August 9th, that's like 2 weeks away. First preseason game, basically 3 weeks away. And then we've talked about, our big show, one of our favorite ones that we put together every year, the Prep Pigskin Preview, where we talk, preview the whole state of Michigan high school football.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, that's 3-4 weeks away that we're going to be putting that together. So it's wild.
I don't know. I more than I think any other time we've had on this pod, obviously we've had some great, conversations after big Michigan football wins last year and stuff. The Michigan State, the recording after that is always a great episode. But I'm really looking forward to these weekly reviews of these Hard Knocks episodes. I mean, I can't wait to see what we put together for those.
Yeah,
it's good. It's going to be fun. I can't wait. All right, fellas, looks like we've made it through another podcast. This has been the 3 Point Podcast presented by Memorial Healthcare, home of the Now Community Wellness Center, and also Skymint Brands, Michigan's leader in the cannabis industry, with many locations throughout the state of Michigan. Don't forget, keep it tuned to our social media, and also our next podcast will have a very special coupon code that you can save some bucks on any time you stop in at Skymint. Also, follow us at 3 Point Pod, spread the word. Make sure you let all of our great partners know you listen in and enjoy the show. They include AZEE Printing Solutions, Pro Real Estate and Auction, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, The Wash of Owosso. Speaking of coupon codes, what's the coupon code there? 3PP?
3PP.
Yes,
stop on in, get those clothes done. And the ALS Association of Michigan. Before I wrap it up, fellas, I just wanted to tell you, I saw something come online. You know, the ALS Association is near and dear to my heart, losing my buddy, Chris McMillan. And then there's another friend of mine that I played City League basketball with, another Cavalier that is battling that terrible disease. And I got something online. It was from the University of Michigan looking for volunteers, because I don't know if you guys know this, Michigan is probably the top state per capita for ALS diagnosis. And, you know, they want to do a study, and I volunteered for it. I don't know if I'm going to get picked for it or not, but where they'll do a series of blood tests, you know, and urine tests, just to check out and make sure you're doing okay and see if there's anything in the environment here in Michigan that is causing this, you know. And I say kudos to them. Anything they can do on research to get rid of that terrible, terrible disease, which seems to be growing and growing, I'm all for it. So we're glad to promote, you know, trying to help that cause. And that's really my big charitable cause that I like to put a lot of time in with good reason. So let's hope that they can come to a cure for that. But we've come to a cure for the end of this program. Until next week, so long, everybody. Thanks for listening. Peace and love. Peace and love.